Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I want to go into a little channeled flow with the guides and just share a little bit of some gentle reminders that my guides have been reminding me about. So first, I just want to invite everybody to take a deep breath in. Nice long exhale. When you're breathing in, are your ribs expanding? Is your belly expanding? Is your chest expanding? Can you expand all of it? And just release and let go and exhale, inviting everybody to drop into your heart. Coherence is key. So, um, we think sometimes coherence is a matter of being in love and light and bliss all the time. And my guides are constantly reminding me that it's more about a consistency rather than a high. So, we're not always going to feel high. And that doesn't mean we're not in coherence. Can we maintain a cohesive, regular feeling of gratitude and appreciation and compassion? And that leads to balance, not these extreme highs and extreme lows, which are just part of the experience sometimes too. So just asking yourself throughout the day, checking in with yourself, how am I feeling? Am I breathing? Am I in my heart? Am I grateful? Can I feel grateful about something right now in my life? And if you aren't able to do that, acknowledging where you are, recognize, acknowledge, right? Raw. And if you're feeling raw and you're feeling like there's a lot going on that you feel out of control over, take a minute, go back within, listen to a meditation, go for a walk in nature, right? Put on some soft music or put on the 80s jams if that makes you happy or makes you feel a little bit better. And it's not necessarily about feeling better. It's about having the experience. So, not forcing ourselves to come out of something when we may need to feel the fullness of grief, feel the fullness of feeling upset about something and really getting to know ourselves, right? Know thyself. The other message that's been coming through before I drop in flow is about the timelines, about reality. And this is something I've been saying for quite some time now. So thank you for tuning in. If you're new to this, if you're not new, this will be old news for you. But essentially, we're merging realities, we're merging timelines. And I don't know that our realities are going to split and there's going to be this timeline split where some people are over here and some people are over there, and we won't see the people that are in the lower frequencies. We're only going to see love and light. I don't know because I haven't experienced it before in this way. None of us have. So none of us truly know. And it also might be experienced from different perspectives. For some people, that might be the case. For some people, that might be what happens. We just don't ever talk to those people anymore who are really low frequency and not part of our new reality. For right now, from my perspective, there are a group of us who have, whether we say agreed or are working together to actually merge the two realities. So I don't necessarily see it as a complete separation because I feel that we are, quantumly intertwined and entangled. And so I sense that we're going to be, the word I'm hearing is scaffolding. So you have a scaffolding and you essentially are pulling threads from this reality and that reality and working in a space of merging them together. So we aren't completely ditching, if you will, those other humans who are potentially in the process of expanding, growing, and dissolving some of those lower hierarchical mentalities, right? There are more and more people who are opening and want change, whereas maybe before they didn't. They're seeing things differently than they did before. So that's just one of the messages that's been coming through. It's just to recognize that we're all making choices and we're shifting timelines, realities a lot faster. Now, let's talk briefly about timelines. As we become more fluid and we work in that fluidity, there is less rigidity. So we aren't necessarily going to operate within timelines or time in general like we used to. It's not going to feel the same, it's not going to look the same. And so things might happen a lot faster than they did before. Or they're going to happen in such a way that we feel less extremes. All of a sudden, we're in a completely different focus reality than we were the day before. Now, that can feel extreme, but from the perspective of the guides, because we're operating from a different perspective, that extreme might not feel as long. It may not feel as extreme. And, or we might feel it like, whoa, and then we're moving on. So there's not as much of these, the yo-yos feel closer together, maybe, where we have this extreme over here, we have this extreme over there, but we're able to process it differently than before when we, and not everyone, I'm just saying for a large group of people. Okay. So I hope that helps. I'm not sure. It basically helps explain why it feels different than it was before, because it is different. A lot of the things that I've channeled about years ago and in wordplay and the things that other people have spoken about are happening now. So, disclosure, it's happening. We're just not seeing it blasted on mainstream media. If you go on any of the alternative channels and watch what's happening in the court system, in front of the Senate, in front of the Congress, all of those guys, you're going to see a lot is coming up and a lot is being revealed. But if you're only watching mainstream media, you're not going to hear about it. So I have a lot of people, not as much as I used to, but clients who are concerned that it's not happening soon enough, or, you know, it's never going to happen. It's happening. It just doesn't look the way we necessarily thought it was going to or wanted it to. So, one of the messages that my guides are sharing is let go, let it go. And I know that is difficult. It's difficult for me because many of us who know what has been projected, many of us, and is still being projected, it's frustrating from a human perspective that many of us feel as if we've been misled or are being misled. But the difference is when we use our discernment, we recognize it now and we don't make those same choices. Or we also recognize that other people are on a different timeline or operating from a different dimensional perspective. And we recognize that that is their choice, whether it's unconscious or not. And they have the freedom to choose, whether they're choosing it unconsciously or not, whatever they want to choose. And that's another thing my guides are like, let go of the need to control their reality. So as we start to let go of hanging on to how we want the old reality to look, we begin to recognize that the new reality is already here unfolding all around us. And the guides have told me just a couple days ago the grid is going down, which is another message that came through. We're getting a lot of messages. People are opening up to their intuitive gifts and abilities. They're getting downloads. They're getting telepathic communication. But not everybody is using their discernment to recognize what is actually being shared. So we're being called to use, this is why know thyself, to recognize, is this my thought? Is it somebody else's? Is this my belief or is this someone else's belief? Is my belief based on a story that may not be true? Acknowledging all of that. And this is part of growth, self-growth and practice. Recognizing, is this a message I need to share with the collective right now? Or is it a message that maybe was just meant for me? When I heard the grids are going down, I thought, do I share this? Well, of course, because guess what? As you're listening to that, does it elicit a response of fear? Does it elicit a response of, yes? Does it elicit a response of, what does that even mean? For me, it elicited all of those things because a grid doesn't just mean I'm being called to play with that, so I will. So a grid, if you look at the meaning of it, so the reason I'm sharing this is because of everybody opening up their skills. As we become more telepathic, as we become more intuitive, we also have to use our discernment. And we have to use our discernment about what we're hearing and why we're hearing it and what it means. So it's going to mean different things for different people at different times. Could it be literal? Sure. Is it possible that our grids might fail? Sure. Is it intentional? Maybe, maybe not. All of that is not relevant. And this is what I'm being called to share. Of course, it's relevant. It's going to, our lives could be a little chaotic for a while if and when that were to happen. But what I'm hearing is it's not permanent if and when that were to happen. And it's not bad to be prepared for these things, anyways. Just like when you live in California, you prepare, you have a little earthquake emergency kit because you know that in that area, we get a lot of earthquakes. So just the guides are like, use your common sense. Do what you feel you might need to have in order to be prepared if you have a family and things like that. And this is not necessarily going to happen next week or next month. It could happen a year from now. It's just a matter of getting our ducks in a row and recognizing that depending on where we live, there could be storms, power surges, all kinds of things. And so that's not new information. And this is where the guides are saying a lot of people are hanging on to this need to get more information. What's going to happen? When is this going to happen? How is this disclosure going to look? When are our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters going to show up? The guides are just like, you got to live your life. And if we're constantly trying to feed ourselves with information, we're not necessarily listening and fine tuning our feelings, our senses, therefore our extrasensory abilities. So it's really important that as we recognize our extra sense and extra sensibility, right? Which is they're like really focusing on this right now, like be sensible. If we're sharing information and we're getting into, I'm hearing, don't believe the hype. You guys, this isn't just in the political world, it's also in the spiritual communities. There are people, and I get it, it's exciting to get it downloaded. You want to share, I had this dream, and this is going to happen. Maybe it means something else. So I played with that a little bit, and the reason I'm sharing this is use our discernment. My guides play with words on purpose. So what is a grid? A framework of spaced bars that are parallel or cross each other, a greeting. A network of lines that cross each other to form a series of squares or rectangles. So I was shown a crystal lattice work. Now, I want to play with this for just a moment, and maybe we'll play with it actually a little bit later. Let me just pause. My lighting's going a little, well, it doesn't matter. So I'll make this a little brighter. So the old grid, so let's pretend that our reality, and let's pretend you are a person in a game. And what is holding you in space inside this game is a grid, a matrix, or a network of energy and waves that are then manifested into form. And that's how we operate through our everyday life. That's just like an easy explanation. And we've been manifested or framed in a grid or pattern and frequency that has held us in a particular chapter of a book. That old grid is going down. Literally, maybe it's dissolving. Maybe it's changing. It's changing its location. Simultaneously, a new grid has already come in and overlaid around not only the old grid, but also you. And now you are part of both of those grids. Okay, so just picture a grid, like a graph. right? But picture it in lights, like it's energy. And that old grid now, as it goes down, doesn't pull us down with it because we're slowly disconnecting from it and absorbing the new grid. There will be parts of the framework that we're still connected to that are part of the framework of this next dimensional field. They're used as scaffolding. And those would be some basic foundational principles, such as the elements, right, of reality, the platonic solids, which aren't really solid. And so those energies are still there, evolved. And so this new overlay has come in and now is graphing into us. Think of a skin graph. And we are now operating within this new dimensional field, which gives us access to new points on a map. And it gives us access to other grids in other dimensional fields that before were more difficult to feel, sense, recognize, and connect to, if that makes sense. So as this old grid disassembles and parts of it are dissolved, parts of it are used to create other things, and parts of it are recycled, we could say. We're still operating now within this new framework, but we have the scaffolding of the old framework still as part of our cellular memory because we were born into that. We graphed with it. So if the skin graft, if you think about this in surgery, you take part of the body, you graft it into the other part of the body, and it actually grows, right, as a living organism. So you could think of it that way. And this is why I don't know that because we're going from one dimension to another, there's going to be this split and we're not going to see. It's part of us and it's always going to be. It just might shift how we feel. How we feel about it might shift. How we see it might shift. It's just like the elements are evolving. And that doesn't mean we still don't have the base elements that are the scaffolding. It just means they've shifted slightly. So we're still attached. Okay, what I'm hearing is a what's it called? A phantom limb. So that old grid is cellularly in our cellular memory, right? And so habit patterns, how we've reacted to certain things is still attached to those old frames, those old pieces of lattice work, those ladders that we were climbing up. I'm seeing the game Chutes and Ladders. And so now that's moving away, but we feel like it's still there. So we're still looking for it. We're still operating like it is. We're still expecting things to happen because that's what would have happened had that old framework been in place. So that phantom energy is kind of playing out because of our thought patterns, our belief systems, our habits, and we're still acting like we're still in that same game. And that's slowly, from my perspective, dissolving. If that makes sense. So that's my in a nutshell. I would love to, I should just keep sharing this vision that I'm having over and over again of reality because it might be helpful for some people. That's why it feels like, okay, I feel like I still should be with this person, but I'm not. I don't really want to be. Like, what's wrong with me? Or I really feel like I should be finishing this part of my job, but I'm ready to move on to the next job or career choice or having a child, not having a child. I mean, whatever the choices are for a lot of people, it just feels really different. Simultaneously, there's a lot of people who are perfectly happy playing out that old game. Again, whether conscious or unconscious about it. But there are a lot of us who are like, come on over. We're going to hold both of those spaces in as neutral as we can. And eventually those oscillations back and forth are not going to feel as ping-pongy. Well, long. drawn out. It's going to happen quicker. And I hope you guys are following what I'm putting down. So from this reality to that reality, from this timeline to that timeline. I mean, it does feel like a tennis match sometimes, or what did I say earlier? Ping pong, or a yo-yo, right? Up, down. But we're able to integrate our realizations, our perceptions, our perspective, our thoughts much easier than we may have been a year ago. So that's good news. And the more we can recognize that not everybody's there yet, we can allow them to work through whatever they need to work through. And I'm not saying them versus us, like those of us who understand this are more advanced. That's not necessarily true at all. We're going to have people who seemed like they were part of the old structure so strongly that we may have developed judgments against them. Thou shalt not judge. And all of a sudden they have an awakening where they are like, oh my goodness, I don't even want to have anything to do with that. Let's play a different game. I'm here to help. You know, if one of those people showed up and volunteered where you were working to help people, how would you feel about that? And I know some people would feel it's disingenuous, and in some cases it will be. In some cases, those actions will be coming from a place of selfishness, ego, so on and so forth. The irony, though, about that, and I'm just in flow right now, the messages that I'm getting from the guides is fake it till you make it. There's going to be people they're never going to change, and they're going to try to operate and really mess up and wreak havoc in this new reality because they're not separate. There isn't a connection, right? However, it's not going to stick. And in some cases, what I've been getting is those people will become, I'm hearing the word disenfranchised, and I'm also hearing the word almost like I'm not getting the attention I wanted. This isn't working. I'm not winning. Like these are all ego, right? My strategy isn't working. I'm losing friends. Now the real dark beings who are just like, I'm not going to do anything good for anybody ever. And it's like that secret. That's different. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm talking about the people that are on the fence or that weren't on the fence. They're going to be like, I don't know why I really want to help this person, but I feel like I'm going to. And you'd be surprised. All of a sudden, good things start happening and they start feeling good about it. It's like that movie with the zombie that wakes up and then all the other zombies wake up because they feel love for someone, that human compassion. Okay, kind of gross movie, but it's a metaphor. Now, some of these people, from my perspective, are the ones that really are like in ego still, the ones that are doing it for all the wrong reasons. They're like, I got to get more friends. I'm going to go volunteer. I feel like people don't like me. I need to act like I'm a good person. And then my mission will work and I will be able to, wah ha 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 ha, right? But they're not really like, they just really are doing it because inside they are looking for respect or looking for attention, whatever it might be. So they're not completely, I mean, they might be a little narcissistic, but they're not complete dark narcissists. Those beings, you might start to notice it's contagious, you guys. Well, it's contagious both sides. But once you're in a higher vibration, they're either not going to be around a one around at all, or they're totally going to fake it, whatever. There are going to be the breaks, is what I'm hearing. And they're going to start some of them being curious and feeling different. It's like the Grinch, I guess, right? I haven't even seen the Grinch, but I think he starts to feel things at the end of the movie and isn't really that bad. I don't remember. Anyways, kind of like that. So the reason I'm sharing that is we're being invited to really recognize within ourselves, are we hanging on to really being mad? And I'm hearing a lot of people want the people who've done things that are not very nice to be held accountable. And my guides are like, there's always accountability. It just may not, you might not see it. And it may not happen in this lifetime. It might happen when they go to the other side. It might happen in different ways that we aren't recognizing. Like we are like, well, they need to go to jail. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. But that might be according to your game and the game of this old reality. So I'm really being invited to invite everybody else to let go of whatever resentment, anger, blame, judgment that we're hanging on to, because that is what is also feeding the old grid energetically and holding us back. So if you feel that way, it's human. But recognizing judgment matches judgment, anger matches anger, feeling resentful of these beings, oh, they have all this money and I don't, that's an energetic component that's in our field. And so it's okay to feel those things as a human. We're having a human experience. But the more we let go, the lighter we feel. And the more we open up to what we need to create for ourselves so that we can see more abundance in our lives, feel more abundant and supported, and not hang on to what other people have and we don't lack, what other people are doing or not doing, and how they are being affected. I know it's challenging, and I want to just be 100% transparent. I do it too. I probably do it to a certain extent every time I turn on the news, which is why I try not to turn on the news every day, if at all. My husband watches the news, so it's kind of hard not to. But I also play with that. So while I'm watching things like that and I get triggered, I feel resentful, I feel like just pulled down energetically, I sit with that for a minute sometimes and I recognize, all right, I'm feeling this way. Wow. Is that real what's happening? How is that affecting my world and my reality if I wasn't watching this program? What can I do to shift that feeling in my body? Go work out, how can I clear that thought? I now clear this thought from my mind. I disconnect myself from the cords of the television. I clear all frequencies energetically in and around me that are no longer for my highest good. I ask myself, does watching this, is this good for me right now? In some cases, it might be because we want to see where we're still being triggered, why we're still being triggered, and how can we shift that and be aware of it. Because it's not about bypassing and it's not about not feeling what we're feeling. Okay, so that's my message. I could just make this a short video. Maybe I'll do part 1 and part 2. I'll just do into channeling. So if you I'll just end on this note and I'll do another video next. And I'll make it part 2 with just the channeling. So with lots of love and light. Really quickly, those tools, again, recognize, acknowledge, catch yourself, break the cycle, feel what you're feeling, move it through your body, move it out of your body, and focus on creating maybe a change or movement in the body, creating breath, creating movement, having a great conversation with someone, reaching out to someone you haven't talked to in a while. Just little things like that, or going and meditating, listening to some beautiful music while you're laying in the bathtub, taking a cold shower, doing a plunge, whatever works for you. I did a previous video, if you feel called to watch it, with a lot of tools written down on a whiteboard. I did not include nearly as much as I could have, but maybe you might find that helpful. Try one of those. Go get some cranial sacral. I'm not going to repeat that, but I invite you to go back and watch that video. I'll try to link it in the description below if you find it helpful. Lots of love, in love and light. Namaste.